What I will present you with, together with Bogdan, because you will actually get a double act. So we decided to split up the part a little bit. I'd like to take a step back and ask the question, actually, what are we trying to do? And Bogdan is leaving the room. That's not good. What are we actually trying to achieve with our modeling? And who do we need to convince, really, that energy efficiency is more or less the best invention since the arrival of sliced bread? I think when we start our discussion on modeling work, we could, of course, focus on debates around discount rates, as we have seen in the past few months. We can talk about the right price and cost assumptions and all these theoretical things. But I don't think we will actually reach the people and excite them that energy efficiency is really something they should look at more seriously and that they should address. Of course, there is work highlighting all these benefits, just like the IEA. I think everybody of you knows this nice graph, and it's a great circle, and it shows how energy efficiency is in the center of everything. But we keep repeating these messages, and in the end, we're only talking to ourselves. I think in this room we have a group of friends of energy efficiency. I would count you all as friends of energy efficiency. But the question for me is actually anybody outside listening to that seriously? And are we trying to make them listen enough? And I think the answer is no, because even when we look at the existing models, and this is a nice table, it's probably way too small to read for you, but this is a table which is from the recent IEA publication on multiple benefits. And it lists all the different models which there are, which model the macroeconomic effects of energy efficiency. And you see on the right what they're trying to measure. And you don't see any of these, hardly at all. You see maybe 2 or 3 of those, but you don't see all the soft measures. So it seems that there are no proper models out there which really make the case to integrate all these soft measures, what we in the efficiency community call the co-benefits, but which actually may be the core benefits of many other policymakers and decision making people. So we really need to convince them that if you have all these other sectors out here, you know, all these people around energy efficiency, that the guy with the building solutions in the middle is the one which is actually covering everybody's territory to a certain degree. And we do not only have to make this case verbally by convincing people, we have to do the right analytics, and we have to find the evidence. And I think that's what we're doing not enough, so there is actually a big gap. If we look at what motivates people to take action in energy efficiency, this is from the ENTRANZE project, which BPIE was involved in. It has just come to an end earlier this year. This basically shows you the barriers according to some different countries. So you have, of course, cultural differences, and you have barriers like the financial barriers, you have lack of information, and so on and so forth. And some of them are more important in some countries and others are less important in other countries. What I'm trying to say here is that we need to have policies, and we need to model the impact of policies to overcome, in the end, each of these little red boxes. And this is just the same table for public buildings, so a very different owner profile. But in the end, what we need is a policy which covers each of these little red boxes. And of course, that's very, very complicated to achieve and very, very complicated to do. But I think if we don't do that, we will never fill that gap. We will never be convincing enough. And we can't just afford to fudge our way through and to basically pretend that we have all the answers, because we will be found out in the end. Okay? And if we reflect all the many barriers, if we try to quantify the benefits, then I think we will start having the ear of other policymakers which are more relevant. So essentially, we need to make sure that the many co-benefits get really into the policy funnel, into the policy debate. And this policy funnel has been developed by E3G, and I think they really understand something of policy influencing and policy development. And I think we need to make sure that we are there with the right messages at the right point in time. But simply talking about payback periods and how cost effective all our great ideas and strategies are is not going to be enough. Unfortunately, because we have all these individual people in Europe, and they live in a house, or they live in they work in an office, and all of them have different motivations. And that's what we need to overcome. So what I want to do now is actually give the floor to Bogdan, because Bogdan will talk a little bit about detailed modeling and the results of the ENTRANZE project, where we try to reflect a little bit on that. I mean, we don't claim as BPIE that we have the ultimate answer to that. That is a very, very big problem. But I think if the modeling community gets together and really tries to improve that, then we will make some progress. But Bogdan, over to you for now.
So good afternoon, everyone. So thank you, Oliver, for warming up the audience. I have to deliver something, my part, and after Oliver will turn back. In fact, I am more or less like a promotional. So you know on TV those guys struggling to sell knives, better pants and so on to you. So I have two stories, in fact, converging to one point at the end. So the first story is the ENTRANZE project. It is a story about how to team up for preparing and supporting the development of more ambitious policies for moving towards nearly zero energy buildings through renovation and for new buildings. You can see here was a very consistent consortium, and few of the partners are here. I think Barbara representing Fraunhofer just introduced you their more expanded model, and Didier is here. He represented the policy makers in France, and he was in close connection to the project, and he supported from the beginning till the end, and not only for France. And in fact, in this project we covered 9 countries. We were 10 partners covering 9 countries of Europe, including big ones from western side, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, but also some countries from the Central and Eastern Europe like Romania, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, but also Finland from northern side of Europe. And in fact, we like to call ENTRANZE. It's a project that was concluded at the end of September this year. We are still working for the final reports. You know, the European Commission is very demanding for these reports, and we have to struggle a bit. And you can see we like to call this project as a big laboratory for preparing the policy development process, because as you can see here, we follow all the steps we believe are normally in developing a proper policy framework in each country. So we assessed the existing policies in place in each country covered by the project. We assess the behavioral aspects in each country, and you saw previously 2 tables analyzing the barriers. These are parts of our behavioral and barrier assessment we develop in this project, and we try to evaluate the decision criteria in these countries for investing in better renovation, but also the degree of acceptance for new technologies, new nearly zero energy buildings technologies. We assess also the existing building stock, and we have a very nice data tool on the website of the project. You can go there. We have also patterns for the energy consumption in buildings. We assessed the market costs for certain technologies and materials for implementing better renovation. We did a cost optimal calculation for each country in each country specific condition as a basement for defining several renovation packages, several renovation options for each country in order to later on model and evaluate through modeling few policy sets we defined for each country again in the country specificity and with different degree of ambitious, as I will show you briefly later on in an example. And last but not least, of course, we analyzed the modeling results and everything we did, and we provided some policy recommendations. So you can find all the reports and the tools we produce here in this project on the website of the project. It's really exciting, so probably you need a lot of time to read all of them. But nevertheless, just spotting one example, we cover Romania as BPIE because we also have a country initiative there, and you will see this is a common point of these two stories I want to introduce you briefly. So we try to define three policy sets, starting from a lower level of ambition till a higher level of ambition, but at the same time trying to spot the creation of a proper policy framework and a proper framework for investing in buildings policy there. So tackling with not only regulations and not only support programs, but also with other accompanying measures like increased compliance, information advice, creating innovative measures like coaching or one-stop shop there, where is a lack currently of information. Also some other measures on upskills the workforce there in place, because it is a need to increase the quality of the work delivered and not only to increase the regulations, because this is not delivering as expected, as we know very well. So here you can see some results of this policy set simulated with modeled in ENTRANZE for Romania, and we used the same model as Barbara presented previously, so invert E-Lab model developed by Technical University of Vienna and Fraunhofer eceee. So you can see that through these policy sets we define, we can reach as much as up to 30% energy savings by 2030. And that's, I think, impressive, because we didn't put there amazing measures, but normal ones, and we claim for longer term predictability. And at the same time, you can see that the associated costs for increasing and implementing these policy sets, that means thermal renovation of the buildings existing in Romania there, and to increase the renewable energy heating and cooling share in the buildings at the same time. So the overall cost, the cumulative cost by 2030 is at around 37 billions. But this is the overall investment, because in fact we obtain a leverage effect of the public support investments of factor 5 or 6, up to 6. So that means the public investment to just trigger all this story is at around 6 billions cumulative value by 2030. The second story is about our model. So in 2011 we developed a kind of macroeconomic model on buildings, just supporting the study we elaborated at the time. This is the study on Europe's buildings under the microscope, and I saw that Paula just had some captures from that study in her presentation. But in fact, the meaning over the last years of this modeling exercise we developed at BPIE was to assist the governments to further develop long-term strategies, and more precisely on Article 4, to deliver renovation longer-term plans. And we use this model briefly for several countries to develop such renovation plans and modeling, long-term modeling, for in particular for Romania again, and I say this is a common point, and I will show you why, for Czech Republic and also for Spain, as for shadow renovation roadmaps we define. So briefly, this is the model. Probably you don't want to see the details, so with black colors, black background color, you can see the input data necessary for the model. That means usual stuff in the buildings, floor area, also what is the job creation rate in the local industry, also the emission factors, the decarbonization rate, and also to determine some energy development scenarios for prices for decarbonization. At the same time, we have some big variables we play with, and we develop several scenarios, several pathways. That means the renovation rate, the renovation depth, and the renovation costs. The renovation costs, in fact, were based on the real data collection from the ground field. And finally, we obtain a lot of figures about the longer term impact in increasing the renovation in a country. That means the figures associated to energy saved, to carbon emission reduction, to investments, to employment generated by this, and other benefits. So this is just an example on how we played with the renovation rate and depth. I will not go into detail. You can find everything in the study I mentioned in our recent work. but for Romania, for instance, all this modeling supported a bigger project we developed there, which was called Renovating Romania. And you can find it in English on our website, also in Romanian, and in the Romanian version you can find also the ENTRANZE part. Fortunately, I didn't have time to translate it in English. I'm Romanian. And you can see that the figures by 2050 of enhancing the renovation activities towards nearly zero energy buildings level in Romania are quite impressive. So around 60% of the actual energy consumption can be saved by then. We can generate a lot of benefits and cost savings, much more than the associated investment. And at the same time, the job creation potential is at around 40,000 jobs a year to consolidate in the construction sector and related. So yeah, this is the common point. So what we did in ENTRANZE and what we did with our modeling, concentrating in that book, you saw it previously, was used by the national authorities in Romania to just elaborate the renovation plan delivered to the Commission on Article 4 of the Energy Efficiency Directive. I didn't stress enough how much work we had with the stakeholders and the policymakers there. I think only in ENTRANZE we had around 4 meetings and 2 workshops, and on top of this we had additional work. So we were very happy that the Romanian strategy is, I don't know, 80% or even more based on our work presented now briefly. And just to conclude my part and to leave again Oliver to continue, I think we can early define some ingredients for a well-developed policy process for buildings. So I think it is about having, of course, data collection. It is about having the modeling result more accurate based on clear data collection. It is about knowledge not to analyze these results, but also to further develop the policies and to put them properly in place and to follow their implementation. It is a lot about the stakeholders' dialogue, so to capacitate the markets, and I think we need a huge amount of enthusiasm on all the sides. We need the policy enthusiasm, we need the stakeholders, the market enthusiasm to be raised in order to be successful with these buildings policies and to transform the market. And of course to continue monitoring and to adjust the process continuously in order to be keen and to be there in 2050 and to avoid the bad results. Thank you very much.